Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. I am Tim Kernan. He is Mike Freshwater. Mike, nice to be back in the studio again with you. How you doing this morning?
Really good. I got my coffee and Kahlua, and so everything's good.
Absolutely a bright, crisp Saturday morning here in December.
So, you could almost go out and play golf or mow the grass or do stuff outside today. Yesterday was gorgeous. I walked with hardly any layers, and it was we're going to get hit sooner or later, but so far it's been
we are
extremely mild.
You know, the Farmer's Almanac says it's supposed to be a very cold, wintry mix.
So far they've got it wrong.
It's been chilly a couple times, but it has been fairly mild. It is cool this morning, but you're right. It's a beautiful day here in Southwest Ohio, so going to be a good day, and it's always a good day for sports.
It is every day. We can talk about it every single day. Some people do, and some people get paid a lot to do it.
Yes.
So we do it for the love of the game.
Yes, I would say that as well. College football playoffs, nothing much changing there, Mike. I think Florida State is still threatening to take this into the courts, but as you and I kind of talked about last week, I really don't see anything happening there.
No, I don't know why they would waste the money on something like that. I will tell you this, though. I was at a luncheon on Monday where David Saylor, the Miami of Ohio athletic director, spoke, and he is on the committee. And he talked about what life is like on the committee. It was pretty interesting. But he basically said that there's no grounds for any kind of a lawsuit there at all. Yeah. That it might not have been a unanimous vote amongst the committee to include Florida State, but it was the consensus. So I trust, and he was asked flatly about what kind of influence the SEC and ESPN has on all of that, and I trust him when he said absolutely none. And they're going to get criticized no matter what they do. Somebody was probably going to get screwed. If not Florida State, then Georgia. I mean, they've got a case also. So next year, probably not that much of a big deal since we're going to 12 teams. But Florida State, they were the odd man looking out, unfortunately. Had their quarterback stayed healthy, I think they would have been in. But, we got power. The numbers don't make any sense. You got 5 Power 5 conference champions and only 4 spots. So every year somebody's going to get left out.
Yeah, and you and I talked a little bit about that last week, the fact that it's expanding to 12 teams next week. I think that will alleviate some of this discussion. There's always going to be someone who feels like they were left out. But what it'll really do, Mike, is it'll alleviate the problem with possibly a undefeated team floating out there and not getting in. I think it'll take care of that part.
That for sure. And to just kind of tag on that a little bit, it'll make sure you've got the best 12 teams, those teams that have the best chance of winning the championship. I don't think anybody's going to argue that the 13th team, could have made a run. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It might a little bit in some circles, but there won't be any controversy next year, I don't think.
Agreed. And Mike, it's what I would call it. It's not my term necessarily, but the silly season is on in college football, and that would be the portal. A lot of jumping and jockeying around. A lot of teams, a lot of players, if you will, have already committed to their new teams. But again, that started on December the 4th and will go through January the 2nd. And then they'll have their second period of the portal from April 15th through April 30th. But a lot of interesting names, interesting players who are changing teams next season. And I know one is particularly close to your heart, and that is Kyle McCord jumping to Nebraska.
That didn't happen. That fell through, and they went and got the Oregon State quarterback, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. The latest deal is he's visiting Syracuse. So Syracuse is the next up program. The whole Nebraska thing fell through for whatever reason. Not sure why.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, so they went and got a different guy. And so he's visiting Syracuse, which makes a little bit more sense only because it's closer to where he's from. He's from New Jersey. So And that, that's good football. That's a good league, and might be a nice fit for him. But now he's the Nebraska thing fell through.
I'm still surprised though. I don't, no disrespect to Syracuse, but I really don't know why you would want to do that. Again, as someone who played sports, I always wanted to challenge myself, and I don't understand why some of these kids don't want the challenge of trying to earn a spot. And I don't know why he would want to leave Ohio State. I know he wanted to be guaranteed the position, but I just find it hard to believe that kids don't want to compete for a job.
I think there's that, and I also think that he was feeling the pressure because no matter what he did, it wasn't good enough to the public. And I don't know if he and Ryan Day had a bad relationship or not a great one, I guess. And I think he was just feeling the pressure of being a quarterback at Ohio State and what it means, and taking a lot of the heat for things, especially that last game. So I just think it was a combination of that and, like you said, not necessarily wasn't a guarantee. Now, I don't think Nebraska guaranteed him. I don't know if Syracuse will, but I think it was a combination of things. But those two at the top, he's just a different kid, and this is a different world we live in.
Oh, that's the truth.
So,
and you're right. I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of circumstances surrounding that whole situation, and not just him. It goes on everywhere.
Yeah.
And you nailed it. It is absolutely a different world right now.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and jump into Notre Dame real quick.
Yep.
Of course, they finished the season 15th. We talked last week about their season. Certainly somewhat of a disappointment, I think. The expectations were pretty high, and I know that one of their goals certainly was to make the college football playoffs. They did not. They won one of their three big games, I would say, Mike. They beat USC, but USC turned out to be a pretty weak program this year. Lost a disappointing 1 to Ohio State, of course, right at the end, and then, of course, really stumbled against Clemson on the road. So I would say a little bit of a disappointing season. Chancey Stuckey, the wide receiver coach, was fired or let go, whichever word you want to use to describe that situation. I don't have firsthand knowledge, but there are a lot of rumors surrounding that situation up in Notre Dame. Some saying that it was a pretty toxic room, the wide receiver room at Notre Dame. A lot of players left. They lost Chris Tyree, Tobias Merriweather, Holden Stays, who was a tight end, Rico Flores Jr., and Braylon James, who was a freshman, never played, but he decided to leave. But Notre Dame also quickly remedied the situation. They were prepared, and they got some players. Chris Mitchell, a wide receiver out of FIU, Bo Collins, a Clemson wide receiver, and another excellent wide receiver, Jamal Banks out of Wake Forest, is visiting Notre Dame. He has not committed. So they've certainly taken strides to remedy the situation of those players leaving and jumping into the portal. So, boy, it's just a crazy time. I mean, it's something I don't know. Does this sort of situation make you uncomfortable? Or do you like this?
I'm starting to get used to it only because
Yeah.
it's kind of like the professional leagues, right? Where guys jump around a lot and so much that you sometimes don't even know who's really on the team until the season starts and you get a chance to look at the roster. So I'm starting to get used to it a little bit. Notre Dame signing almost 6 guys already, maybe as active, if not more active, than anybody else out there in terms of kids that they've already committed to. So they have hit it hard, and I don't know if that means. I don't know. I don't know if that means that they don't have a lot of faith in their recruiting classes coming in, or what. On the other hand, and I don't want to go there yet, but on the other hand, Ohio State's only offered 1.
Yeah. I have a little theory on that, and I hate to continue to bash him because he's been gone a couple of years now, but I think Brian Kelly really left the wide receiver room depleted.
Yeah.
And it has taken Notre Dame a long time to catch up. And it would appear that they're still trying to catch up, obviously, but I think they signed some really solid players to come into that room and hopefully boost it a little bit. But this portal talk. Also, I wanted to mention they got Riley Leonard out of Duke. I think most people
Right.
know that, but
Yeah.
that was a good signing
Yeah.
as well.
Well, you know what happened the last time they signed an ACC quarterback.
Yeah, I do.
So the jury's out a little bit, right?
The jury is out a little bit,
But I
he
think
is very big, and
Yeah,
Sam
he's-
Hartman was not very tall.
he's a different quarterback, and obviously he should be the real deal. Will he be good enough to, in
We'll find
combination
out.
with these wide receivers and who they got coming back, will he be good enough to lead them to the promised land? We'll find out. Because I don't think they would have been in the playoffs this year if it was 12 teams. Would they have been?
No,
Yeah. So
no, they would not.
and that's their standard. I mean, their standard is a Final Four, and it's definitely going to be the top 12 every year.
Yeah,
And if you go 2 or
absolutely.
3 years in a row at Notre Dame without making a 12-team playoff, you're in trouble from a coaching perspective.
Oh yeah,
So,
Marcus Freeman will definitely be in trouble if that happens. But yeah, Riley Leonard I think fits their system a little bit. That could be a little wishful thinking also on my part, but he is a throwing and a running quarterback. Not necessarily like an option type quarterback, Mike,
Yes.
but he's very big and he's got good speed.
Oh, I love him.
And he
He's-
can definitely run with
yeah,
the
I
football.
think he's probably going to end up being better at Notre Dame than Hartman was.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to bring up today, Mike, and that is, dealing with all the things going on with the portal. But and this was an old 30 for 30 put on by ESPN, but it was called the Pony Express, and it explained and documented the issues that SMU had back in the 80s, and everything that they were doing back in the 80s is literally going on right now.
Yeah, I've seen that. Although, yes, correct. Although illegally.
Yeah. Oh, it was illegal back then, and it is legal now.
Correct.
It's just crazy
Yeah.
to kind of go back and look at that story and see the things that were happening, but just crazy. I mean, because everything that they were doing is literally what's going on right now. They were caught literally paying and putting their players on contract.
Yeah,
And
that's
really
right.
what got them the death penalty, Mike, is they didn't stop. They had made these players promises, and they had to finish out those contracts.
Yeah.
So they literally had to keep paying those players when they were told not to, and it was just a mess.
Yeah, and then a little bit later on, Miami, the University of Miami, Florida, kind of took it to another level and figured out a way they could get money to all their kids. It wasn't an exorbitant amount, but money up above and beyond their scholarship, and that really kind of got the ball rolling. But it's well, think about what happened to Tressel at Ohio State. That wouldn't be a problem today.
No.
They traded freaking practice jerseys for a tattoo, and he got fired over that. I mean, that's just absurd in and of itself, when it happened 10 years ago. But today it's laughable.
It is, and wasn't I can't remember the quarterback's name.
Terrell
Pryor, that's right. He sold his gold pants or something like that and got in
Right.
trouble for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
so you can't do
how
that.
minuscule that is
I mean, it was crazy.
just absolutely crazy. Notable players returning for Notre Dame: Riley Mills, defensive lineman; Howard Cross III, who was a second-team All-American. Notre Dame fans, including myself, were thrilled that he decided to come back. Jack Kaiser, a linebacker, and I thought that he had decided to come back, but I think that he hasn't quite made a decision yet. But Xavier Watts, the consensus All-American and the Bronco Nagurski Award winner, he's a safety at Notre Dame. There's still a chance that he might come back, but I think he plans on playing in the Sun Bowl, so that's a good sign that he's probably going to come back.
Cereal
So
Bowl.
the Tony the Tiger.
Cereal
And
Bowl.
like I mentioned last week to you, Mike, that really gets you excited, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait to watch the Cereal Bowl.
Anyways, interesting things. Things seem to be changing by the hour as it relates to the portal and players changing teams. But we'll keep an eye on that, folks. Certainly with Notre Dame and Ohio State. But Mike, let's go ahead and jump into Ohio State. Give us your updates on things portal wise going on with the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about Kyle McCord. He's still in the process of trying to figure out where he's going to end up. The latest word is visiting Syracuse. Lost a couple of running backs. Evan Pryor, who had been hurt but had come back from his injury and played a little bit this year, has transferred to Cincinnati. And Chip Trainum, which most people will remember or have heard of because he did play quite a bit, especially when Travion Henderson was hurt. He's jumping ship and going to Kentucky. A couple other higher profile names. Wide receiver Julian Fleming is on the list. No commitment yet. And I thought there was another wide receiver, but I don't think so. Those are some of the bigger names that, and about 12 kids have jumped into the portal. Ohio State's only offered one, and a good one. A linebacker, Caleb Elam's out of Cal. They've offered him, and supposedly they've reached out to 4 others: a defensive end, an offensive tackle, a D lineman at Michigan State, and a safety, Kamari Ramsey at UCLA. But they also have, depending on what service you look at, the second highest rated incoming recruiting class in the country, including a quarterback they're calling Aaron Noland.
Meaning the freshman class.
Yes, the incoming freshman, yeah. So I don't think they're done with the portal. Again, they've only offered one, and they got 4 other they've reached out to. But it seems like at this point, the portal's probably starting to level off a little bit in terms of activity, in terms of kids who are going to get offered, being offered, that kind of thing. It's really interesting that, for instance, we've got Ohio State has a couple guys that you thought or think will definitely leave early to go to the draft. Obviously, one of them is Marvin Harrison, and he hasn't announced that yet. As all indications are, he and Tommy Eichenberg are going to play in their bowl game, the Cotton Bowl, right? So, yeah. So I don't know. There's a kid who left. Was it Texas in the middle of the whole, getting ready to play for a national championship? Yeah, what are we doing here, guys?
Yeah.
So there must be a really serious problem there for him. But you're going to see Georgia had a ton of dudes, man. They had like 10 to 12 guys get on the portal and are still out there. But once Alabama and once these teams lose, and or whoever wins it all, you're going to see them now jump into the portal because they don't want to miss out on an opportunity to win a national championship and get all the goodies that come with being in those bowl games. So once those 4 teams are done, and it'll be the next period in the spring, they'll be jumping in, and so not a ton of people, but maybe another 15 or 20 or so.
Well, and on the other side of the coin, as it relates to Ohio State, Mike, you said that they've only offered a couple, and that's actually a good sign for Ohio State. You've got the core players that are staying, and you don't have many needs. So I think a lot of people would love to be in that position. I know that some fans might be like, well, why isn't Ohio State going? Well, they don't need to.
Yeah, so far, I mean, like I said, they've committed to 1 and are supposedly reached out to 4. That's not a lot. And so that tells you that they're happy with their depth across the board, and they're happy with their recruiting class and the guys they got coming in. So, they're going to be easily a top 5 team next year. A lot of it hinges on what they do at the quarterback position. Devin Brown's going to get the start. He's committed. He's all in. He is not leaving. He says he wants to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State. And they haven't, to my knowledge, they haven't reached out to any of these free agents, at least that's been reported. So they may want to see what he does in the Cotton Bowl and how he looks, how he practices leading up to it, and give him a solid chance at earning that spot now. But I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done as far as the quarterback position goes. They do have a really good freshman coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, a really good freshman, one of the top recruits in the country. So, but yeah, I think it is a good sign. And people are like, "Oh, Ohio State's got 10 guys in the portal. Georgia has at least as many."
Yeah.
So it's what happens in those really good teams. You got guys who want to play and they're not playing, so they're going to go find a smaller program or whatever the case might be, and they're in search of playing time. That's why they're in the
Oh,
portal
absolutely.
mostly.
And I know that I don't know if it was ever official or if he actually ever visited, but I know that Ohio State was possibly interested in Leonard as well.
There were rumors.
Yeah, but I don't even know if he ever went to Ohio State, and he may have been already been courted by Notre Dame for a while.
As soon as he hit the portal, they were talking about him going to Notre
Yeah.
Dame. So that led me to believe that they'd already talked even before he got into the portal and had a deal struck. And, it was just a formality then of crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And I don't necessarily believe those reports or rumors that he was visiting Ohio State because it never really, surfaced, and he didn't see any evidence of it anywhere. So.
Agreed. Mike, you and I call sports for Alter High School here in town. We've started the basketball season. The Alter Knights have started off 5-0 on the season. They're 3-0 in conference play. And you are a coach on the team. You coach all week long, and then you join me for the varsity games. Mm-hmm. But thought maybe you could just give a preview on the team, at least from where I sit. Calling the games. Very impressed with the Knights so far this season. There seems to be a lot of depth. Newcomer or transfer, if you will, R.J. Greer is the real deal, certainly. A very good player, and is just, it appears from where I sit, I'm not around the program like you are every day, but it seems like he's come in and he's fit in pretty well.
He has fit in pretty well. There was a lot of familiarity already there. He had gone to an Alder feeder school, and that summer between his 8th grade year and 9th grade year, his first 8th grade year, because he did repeat it. But that summer he worked out with us, and he knows a lot of people at Alder and a lot of the kids, and he moved right in and had no problems fitting in. He's a great kid. He's really, really a good kid, high character guy. Elite shooter, several 10 to 12 major D1 offers on the table right now, and he's really, really good. Had 22 the other night against CJ, I think, on 6 threes. So he's good. We got a lot of balance. I mean, we've got 5 kids, I think, very close to averaging in double figures, 4 for sure, 1 right on the verge. So we got a lot of depth. As you said, in a lot of balance, I think we're pretty happy to be 5-0 right now, given our schedule. Going to be going down to Hilton Head next week, and I don't know what to expect down there. I have seen videos of the team that we're going to open with, Chantilly High School out of Virginia. But it's practices are competitive. I think that's key. When you have a group of guys that can compete, at a pretty high level in practice with the top 5 or 6, that's a major advantage, and we have that, especially now with the football players who have come out and are starting to get into shape. So great length. We got good size. We can shoot it. Really quick kids. Really good guards. I mean, I think we're looking good, and all things being equal, we're Again, did we expect to be 5-0? I don't know, but we expected to be good.
Well, you lost 3 very good players from last year's roster. Anthony Ruffalo, Gavin Geisel, and A.J. Lean. And, boy, I thought A.J. Lean, not to you and I, but an underrated player, just a fantastic, hard-nosed basketball player that you love having on your team.
Yeah. Well, he worked his way into the top 10 scoring list all time at Alder, so
quietly, I mean,
very quietly, but led the nation in most points scored in the least number of dribbles. So,
yes, that is an official award.
It should be
created by you and I, right?
It is. It should be. But we filled in nicely. Joe Brand and getting RJ to kind of fill in for those 3 guys, because we obviously got Gavin Lean back. But Joe Brand and RJ have slid in and kind of picked up the pace there relative to those losses, and we're poised to make a really nice run.
Yeah.
Now undefeated in the league and control our own destiny from that perspective, and it's going to be an interesting rest of the year. I can't believe we played 5 games already, man. I just can't believe
so
that.
Fast.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, Knights looking tough, and it is a team. It's a private school, obviously, and but they do have a program, the South Dayton Knights, SDK as they call it.
Yep.
It is a program set up to feed into Alter.
Yeah.
And you got to give a lot of credit to that program, Mike,
Yeah.
because the Knights, as I mentioned, lost 3 very good players to graduation last season, and they seem to have not lost a beat.
Yeah, I'm just off the top of my head, 3 or 4, at least 4 probably of our top 8 guys all came up through that program, and that's a nice number. RJ, I think
That's
RJ,
what you hope
I think
for, right?
RJ even played a little bit there, but yeah, it's what you hope for, and if you can get, constantly get where you've got 4, 5, or 6 guys on your roster, on your varsity roster that grew up in that program. It's a major competitive advantage, though. Everybody's got a feeder system now. Now it's just a question of how competitive you are, the coaching, the games, the practices, and all that stuff. But it's a program that I very modestly co-founded and started way back in the day. And once it got a little bit along, I just kind of handed it over. And these guys and these people have run with it, and it's a program of 6 or 7 team, or no, excuse me, probably 10 to 12 teams, 120 kids. It's awesome. They were all there the other night at the Trent Arena in our game against CJ, and they filled up a whole section, and wearing their brown. It was great.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. It's not necessarily an Alter run program, but it's certainly affiliated with the school.
It is,
and it creates that connection, Mike. And you're so right. It's absolutely working, and it gets the younger kids who are playing in the program excited about going to Alter and playing basketball.
It does. It's a recruiting tool for the school. I mean, it can be. I mean, you don't just want basketball kids. You want kids, to private school, people who are, coming to your program or your school and paying tuition and filling up the seats, right? And it's one of the avenues by which we can help funnel kids into Alder that way.
Yeah, the tradition and Alter basketball. It was a school that was founded and started in 1963. Coach Joe Petroselli kind of brought it to the heights that in the early 70s, if you will. A lot of the players from the University of Dayton, their sons would go to Alter because of the Catholic connection. Right. And it was built on that. And Coach Coulter, who is the head coach at Alter, who you coach with, has done a great job to just keep that momentum going, and I think he's actually even raising it to new heights.
We've been pretty consistent. I think with Coach, we've won 3 or 4 districts. We got 29 total districts. When you tell people that, just blows them away. But 29 districts. We've been to the regionals twice, and the state semifinals once, or twice. Anyway, yeah, he's carried it on. We just have to make that to take that next
final
step.
Leap. Yeah,
and that's a lot, right? That's a lot, but that next step of getting to the championship game and winning that is the ultimate. And I think this team this year definitely has a chance to do that.
I think they do too, Mike. And a couple of years ago, well, of course, last year they made it to the regional final, losing to CJ, but that was another game that they certainly had chances to win. But making the state semifinal the year prior, and running into a very, very good Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's team who LeBron James played for in high school.
They were really good. Yeah,
they were really good. But it's funny when I look back on that game. I think they successfully. You have to give them credit. They kind of got us out of a little bit of what got us there. And I think they were forcing the pace in that game, and we didn't handle it well.
Well, we led after the first quarter, and I think that was kind of sent a message to them, right? And so they answered it and came out and just played with a lot more aggression and enthusiasm and effort. They knew that, they were not in trouble necessarily, but they were going to have to put their best foot forward, and they did.
And they did, yeah.
Yeah.
So you give them credit, certainly. But speaking of R.J. Greer and the UD connection, Mike. RJ's father is an assistant coach at the University of Dayton.
Yeah, Ricardo, associate head coach, but yeah, an assistant coach. Played at Pittsburgh, and then played overseas, I think, in Puerto Rico. And he's a really great guy. He's a really good guy. He comes around the program, and when he can, he's obviously traveling a lot. I just talked to him last night. He said he was going to be down at Hilton Head with us for a couple days, and so looking forward to that. But he's a really good guy, and as is obviously RJ. I talked about that already, and we're really happy that they are where they are.
Well, and how about this segue, Mike? But,
Okay.
UD plays the University of Cincinnati tonight
You're
down in
going.
Cincinnati, and I am going to that ball game.
I know. I heard that's.
Can't wait.
What's tip off?
I believe
You better find
it's
out.
like 7:30. I'm not sure.
And it's not
positive
even. It's on
it.
ESPN Plus, man. I hate that.
I know. I can't
it
believe
be
it.
on a regular network or TV, but I'll be tuning in, and I got somebody's login for ESPN Plus, so I'll be watching. But
Huge ball game.
yeah, I think it didn't help UD when Xavier beat UC. It would have been. I think it would have been better had UC won that game. They're going to come out a little bit put off, and
They
Mike-
were undefeated at that point.
yeah, they didn't like losing that game, obviously, and they may come out a little bit extra fired up. But I fully anticipate the UD Flyer faithful to be in full throat down there. In fact, probably
Without a doubt.
outnumber the UC fans. Don't you think? They'll be louder anyway.
I have seen a display of the arena, and yes, your thoughts are correct. UD has definitely bought more tickets than UC fans, but we'll see. I mean, those things tend to balance out. But
well, I think
it'll be
even,
exciting.
even if they're not as many, they'll be loud, right? Probably louder.
We are loud.
Loud.
The red scare,
Be
baby.
loud. That's right.
And I got my red on today.
You
so,
do. Go Flyers.
We can report on that next week, but that'll be exciting, and we'll get to a little bit more into basketball as we advance through the year. But
Yep.
football's still kind of high on the list.
Yeah.
Mike, why don't we jump into pro football a little bit here? Is anyone standing out to you right now in the NFL? I know the 49ers looked really good early, stumbled a little bit, and boy, they look really good again.
Well, they had some key injuries. Debo Samuel and McCaffrey were out. McCaffrey came back, and then Samuel finally came back. I think they were missing a D lineman. So they got everybody back, and they're healthy. Lucky them. And they look really, really good. It's a what have you done for me lately league. Every week
that's
there's
the truth.
a new take. Obviously, Dallas is looking pretty decent.
Just going to mention them.
The 49ers. The AFC, who knows?
Ravens.
I mean, the Ravens, but I mean, the Browns beat them just what 3 weeks ago. So they're probably, I mean, right now you would say for sure the betting favorite to win the conference. But I mean, it's so much craziness happens every week that you get in the playoffs, almost anything can happen. And there's so many teams right now that are in the hunt. Who knows? But it wasn't all that long ago. Everybody's talking about how good the ASC was and all these great teams, and they were going to win the Super Bowl and everything. Now it's just the other way. Right?
Yeah, now the NFC looks really good.
Right.
So yeah, the AFC leaders: Miami at 9-3, Baltimore at 9-4, Jacksonville 8-5, Kansas City 8-8, I believe. But yeah, in the Bengals, a couple of weeks ago we were like, oh, they're done. But boy, Browning, the replacement quarterback for the Bengals, is really playing well. As they've won 2 straight over Jacksonville and the Colts, and those are 2 pretty good teams. They have Minnesota this week, and really the Bengals can only afford, Mike, to lose one more game if they want to have any shot at making the playoffs, and they still have to play Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cleveland.
They do. So yeah, they can't. They don't have the luxury of being able to lose a game and still hang in there. But they're kind of they've the schedule that looked so hard for them down the stretch. It doesn't seem all that hard now, only because all of a sudden you got all these backup quarterbacks in there. I mean, Minshew and Trevor Lawrence, but Browning's playing so well. You just kind of wait for the other shoe to fall and it hasn't happened. And they'll get another backup quarterback today They do play it today. They're getting another backup quarterback today in Minnesota. I have no idea who. I can't even remember. Chase Allen or something. I mean, I can't remember his name. There's so many of these guys playing.
It is crazy because,
There's, I mean, I think we're at about 55 or 56 starting quarterbacks in the NFL this year.
And some pretty bad injuries.
Which is
Cousins'
crazy,
injury
man.
was bad, and so was well, his name is escaping me right now.
So many of them are out for the season.
Yeah, out for the season, bad injuries. Some of them are able to come back, but Kirk Cousins, his was bad. So we'll see what the Bengals can do, but they'll play today. So that'll be interesting. I mean, if they get that one, then you can start maybe thinking positive that they will have 3 divisional games, and that's one of the problems with the Bengals is they don't have any divisional wins.
And their conference record is not great, so they're behind the 8 ball in terms of all the tiebreakers. But if they win out, I mean, I like their chances.
Yeah, NFC divisional leaders: Dallas, Detroit, Tampa Bay, and San Francisco. Dallas looks really good, but every year they seem to stumble as well. So we'll see. But Dallas looks really good on, especially on defense
lately. And Dak Prescott's playing well, and can't stand them, but they're there, and they're going to have to be dealt with. I mean, it's the same teams again. It's in the NFC: Dallas, San Francisco, Philadelphia. Those are the 3 top contenders, and I think it's pretty much how it shaped up last year. So, be interesting.
Yeah, it will. And I was incorrect on one thing. I'll correct myself. But the Bengals have the Steelers, Chiefs, and Browns yet to play, and of course Minnesota today. But
that Browns game, the last game of the season, is shaping up to be potentially really big for somebody.
And I hope it is. I hope it's a huge game.
I mean, I should hope that because the Browns have beat them like 8 out of the last 10 times, but 25% of the Browns opening day roster is now out for the season. The injury, 25%.
And I'm not a Browns fan, obviously, but they're a good team, and that's a shame because
they keep losing people, and it's just going to catch up to them sooner or later. It's insane to think about the guys that they've lost and where they are. If they win,
but their ability to fill in those pieces.
But again, it's adding up. My point is it's adding up.
And
right. Sooner or later, it's just going to be like, 5 pounds of what in a 3-pound bag, and it's just going to burst. But hope, still got hope. Still in the hunt, 8-5. I mean, come on, you kidding me? That's unbelievable.
Well, and they have a favorable remaining schedule, Mike. To Texans away, Jets at home, and the Bengals, who you on paper you look at that and say, well, of course that's going to be an all-out battle, but
it's in Cincinnati.
But they've been taking care of the Bengals the last few years.
They have. I just see where the Bengals are going to ruin the Browns' playoff hopes with a win on that last game of the season. And it's going to. But having said all of that, I think from here on out, whatever the Browns do that's good is icing on the cake because they are the injury bug has just absolutely killed them.
Well, and they have the Bears at home this weekend.
That's correct.
That's a game that they should definitely win, I would think.
Yeah, they're 3.5. They're 3.5, but they're being saved by none other than Joe Flacco. Came off the street. I mean, you look at that. How is it that dude wasn't in the league somewhere already? He came off the street and started playing the way he was playing. Meanwhile, you got all these guys who nobody's ever heard of as backups, not just backups, but now playing, right? And nobody wanted Flacco. I mean, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
He looks really good.
He's not playing for a lot of money. I mean, the Browns just signed I gave him $1 million, I think, and some incentives relative to what they might be able to do in the playoffs if they get that far. But he wasn't expensive, and he's been really, really good. And it's like he couldn't.
I mean, he can still move.
He couldn't play somewhere. That's mind-boggling.
Well, Mike, if you could, we'll do our picks maybe at the end, but I thought you could pull up the lines maybe for us.
Yep.
But we'll do that at the end. But we do a little segment on the show called Yes, No, Maybe. I thought we would do that right now before we do the picks and then wrap up the show for today. But Yes, No, Maybe is when I make a statement and Mike and I will give our yes, no, maybe comment. So, Mike, I want to start with one today. And this one is a little near and dear to my heart because he played for the University of Dayton and was absolutely fantastic. Won Player of the Year a couple of years ago, and now he was drafted by New York, but now plays for Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Obi Toppin is the best player to ever wear a Dayton Flyers uniform. Now, before you answer that, you're a little bit older than me,
Yeah,
so you know a lot of those older guys. You grew up watching them.
Yeah.
I was a little bit later, so I don't know a lot of those guys. But
yeah, he's on the Mount Rushmore of UD great players at UD. But given the fact that he won the National Player of the Year, I'm going to say yes. But I mean, there's some guys that I grew up watching, like you said, who played 3 or played 4 years. They didn't leave early, probably. But you can't dispute National Player of the Year. So I will say yes to that question.
I'm going to say yes too, but I think that there's certainly 1A, 1B, 1C certainly that could be put on that list. I never got to watch him play, but I know my dad used to always tell me about Donnie May and how fantastic he was.
I got to play against him a couple times in the summer when I was in high school, and Donnie May, Donald Smith, Roosevelt Chapman
Davis
come to mind. Johnny Davis,
Jim Paxson.
Oh, Jim Paxson was so good. Really good.
And went to Alter.
He did, and all those guys. Donald Smith went to Roth. Donnie May went to Belmont. Chapman's from outside the area. Of course, Paxson to Alter. So those, at the top of our heads, and you can go way back, I guess, if you want to start talking about Mr. Yule and Hank Finkel and guys like that. But those Donnie, those are the names that pop to mind in terms of the best 5 or 6 players in UD history. And but Obi Toppin has got to be the best just because, he won National Player of the Year. He's got several years to go to catch Jim Paxson's career. He had a pretty good career in the NBA, and we'll see. But I agree. Yes, he is.
Well, and that's another discussion maybe for another show. That Mount Rushmore of Dayton. So let's put that one in our pocket and maybe talk about that one a little bit later.
Yep.
Next statement: Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time.
Yes, without question.
I absolutely agree.
I mean, the results speak for themselves, man. I mean, he took Alabama. I mean, they weren't doing great when he was there, and he built them and back into a powerhouse, but not just a powerhouse, but a dynasty.
They are a dynasty.
And he's done it, and he deserves all the credit, and he is the GOAT when it comes to college football coaches.
He is. I can't add anything else. I can't add anything else. He is fantastic.
I can't do a Nick Saban impersonation. I understood he goes, All
right, next statement, Mike. College sports are on the precipice of extinction. And by that, I mean as we know it.
If you're talking about the football and basketball, probably. Underneath that, the lesser sports, if you want to call them that. No, that's always going to be true college amateur sports. But yeah, if you cannot consider college football and basketball at the highest level, the Power 5 level, amateur anymore. It's not. They're not amateurs. So it's definitely changing the landscape, and it will never be like what it used to be. And so it is what it is. But when you start talking about the other 90% of the sports in all the schools, they're true amateur sports, and they're always going to be what they are. Money's not going to ruin them, but it is what it is, right? And you can't. It's not going back.
Yeah, it's not, and I agree. I don't know if it's not going to go away, but it's evolving into something else. And you're absolutely right. It cannot be considered an amateur sport anymore. So yeah, we'll see where it goes, but and that makes me a little bit sad, Mike. But you know, who knows? Maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe they'll figure out a way to put a little bit of oversight on the whole portal uh, thing, and hopefully, my hope is maybe we'll end up with something better. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think restrictions to the portal are coming to kind of tame that down just a little bit, but that's not going away. And NIL is here to stay, and they just got to figure out the best way to deal with it. And we'll see how that goes. But the rich are going to get richer. You're only going to have 15 or 20 programs year in, year out, football that can compete for the national championship, and that's just the way it's going to be. There's going to be a level below that, I think, where even some of the Power 5 schools are going to fall, where they have a chance to compete with each other, maybe for some other kind of a championship. I think that's where it's headed, but it's never going to be the same.
Yep, agreed. Final one for today, Mike. Jaden Daniels won the 2023 Heisman Trophy. It is no longer a trophy for the best college football player.
Yeah.
It is a quarterback trophy.
It is a quarterback trophy. And I'm like, Jaden, who? I don't think I saw LSU play all season.
I know.
He has to be like the least popular or least well-known Heisman Trophy winner ever. But it's not been the best football player award in a long time.
Yeah.
It used to be a running back award.
Listen to this, Mike.
Go ahead.
From 2000 to 2008, QBs.
Right.
2009 was Mark Ingram, a running back.
Right.
2010 through 2014, quarterback.
Yeah.
2015, Derrick Henry won it, running back.
Right.
2016 through 2019, quarterback. 2020, Dante Smith, a wide receiver, won it.
Right.
And 21 through this year, 2023, quarterback.
Yeah, it's a quarterback award mostly, and you got to be really, really special at either wide receiver or running back. And we're almost never going to have we're never going to have a defensive guy again win that award, I don't think. But you got to be really, really special at wide receiver or running back to be better than the best quarterback in the country, and it's a quarterback award now, and that trend you just mentioned, that's going to continue.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's going to change there.
All right, I agree. Absolutely, it has become a quarterback trophy and not the best college football player. So, Mike, our picks last week, we did 3 games, and it was a major dud. We both went 3-3, so that was a snoozer week.
It's not bad.
Of course, there wasn't any college football picks last week.
Right.
So, on the year, you are 23-20, and I am 36-19 in the pros.
Man, 36-19. You need your own program where you talk about where you bet picks. Give people bets.
As soon as you do that, though, it goes
That's
south.
good. That's insanely good, man. That's better than the professionals do.
All right, Mike, our picks for the week, I thought we would go maybe with a handful of extra games since there's no college. So first one is Minnesota at the Bengals. What is the line on that?
Bengals are -3 at home against the quarterback. I have no idea who they're playing. In fact, that's a battle in a game of 2 backup quarterbacks. The Bengals are -3 at home, and the way they've been playing, I don't know how you can bet against them, so I'm going with the Bengals and laying those 3 points, baby.
I will as well. Next game is, and I kind of picked these just because of the interest that you and I have with the division, but the Rams are at the Ravens. Kind of an interesting game there.
Very interesting. The Rams have been playing really well.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you sure that's? I think the Ravens are playing the Jaguars. I think the Rams and Ravens was last week.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah.
So
we'll go with Ravens and Jaguars.
Where is that game?
That is at Jacksonville, and they are
right. I had it lower here.
They
I'm
are
sorry.
+3.5. The Jaguars.
I forgot to delete that one. I
it
do
from
have
last
the
week.
Raven at
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
we'll do that one right now. So Jacksonville's at home getting 3.5 points, and they've been struggling lately. Only because I really want the Ravens to lose. I'm going to take the Jaguars plus the 3.5. I feel like the Ravens should have lost last week. My God, the Rams lost to them in overtime. They run back a punt for a touchdown, got lucky again.
Yeah.
But I want them to lose so badly. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars plus the 3.5.
All right, I'll go with the Ravens just for fun.
Yeah.
Next game, this is your Browns. The Bears are at the Browns.
Yeah, the the Browns are -3, which basically is the home field advantage.
Correct.
I just keep coming back to the injury situation. I feel like it's going to catch up to them sooner or later. If they win this game, it's going to be close. I'm going to take the Bears plus the 3.
I'm going to go with the Browns. I think Joe Flacco is getting comfortable on that Browns roster, and I think the Browns are going to take care of the Bears.
Really aren't that good, but they won last week, and Fields was playing better, and who knows? But, yeah, I hope you're right.
We'll go 2 more, Mike. Steelers at Indy. Indy's a good team. The Bengals beat them, and Steelers, strange team. They looked so bad last week.
Yeah, the Colts are at home, and they're -1, so this is basically a pick 'em game. Pick the winner. Colts lost to the Bengals, as you mentioned earlier. Steelers can't score. Going with the Colts at home. I don't know why, but I think the home field advantage is enough, and the Steelers just continue to struggle.
I'm going to go with Indy as well. I just think Indy is a way better team than the Steelers.
Yeah.
But the Steelers, several times this year have found a way to win, but we'll see what happens in that one.
They sure have.
Final one, my Cowboys at Bills. I'm not sure if that's the game of the week. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. But the Cowboys at the Bills.
I know I've been thinking about this game a little bit and been listening to people talk about it. Trying to find the darn point spread here. I feel like the Cowboys they're going to hit a wall here sooner or later, and believe it or not, they are getting points at Buffalo. It's Dallas plus 2.5 at Buffalo. So that means, with a field goal, the difference, the Bills can win, obviously. Man, that's hard for me to bet. It's hard for me not to take the Cowboys in points, man. I got to do that. I'll take the Cowboys plus the 2.5.
So the Bills are -2.5.
Yeah. Not overly impressed with them this year. They've been inconsistent, very inconsistent. Cowboys have been playing well, and you're getting points.
I'm going to go with the Bills for a dumb reason, Mike, but I think it's going to be cold up there.
Yeah, it should be.
And
should be inclement.
And I think the Bills are playing better. They had a big win last week.
They did.
And I think that
they got lucky.
Not desperate. They did get lucky.
Kinda.
Not desperation, but I think they're feeling like they have to win this game. So I'm going to go with desperation.
Yeah, I think every game at this point, if you want to make the playoffs, what are they 7-6 or something like that? They're not lighting the world on fire, but you got the Bills, I got the Cowboys. I'm getting the Cowboys in points. That's crazy. I might have to bet that one on the side myself.
Yeah, and I don't like the Cowboys. So
yeah, well, I'm with you on that, but.
I don't have.
How about them Cowboys?
I do not have the record of the Bills. But,
yeah, something like that.
So we'll check that next week. Mike, you are going to be heading out of town with the Altar Boys, heading down to the Seahawk Classic in South Carolina.
Tempting fate. Going to fly Southwest Airlines again, like I did last year, and hopefully this year I don't get stuck anywhere. But yeah, heading down to Hilton Head. I'm going to stay on the island, play on the island. 3 games, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Come back early Saturday, and hopefully we can go down there and stay on a roll and have some fun and do some team building and all that good stuff. And trips are great. It's a tradition that the Holders been into for a long time. Went to Charleston with the team 2 years ago. Again, missed out on San Diego, so I didn't get past Chicago last year. But hopefully me and my suitcase make it to Hilton Head, on time and intact, and we have a great week next week. Looking forward to it. We'll be tweeting. You'll be able to follow the team, on Twitter, and I'm looking forward to it. And just getting away for 4 or 5 days is kind of cool. And
all right,
going south is always a good idea in the wintertime.
All right, Mike, have a great week. Enjoy that. Hopefully the team will be successful, but it'll be successful no matter what, because they'll be able to do some team building and things like that. So,
eat seafood.
Yep. Have a great week. Folks, enjoy the sports this weekend. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
So long, everybody.